Hello and welcome back to another week of ranked racing in RaceRoom. Now we've had a good run of results in RaceRoom over the past few weeks, picked up a succession of podiums, but they were all in the rookie class. Today it's going to be a different story. We're racing the GT4 class at Brands Hatch. Now this is one of the main ranked servers in the RaceRoom schedule this week, which means a higher standard of competition. Despite that though, qualifying was still pretty encouraging. We got our lap times down into the 133s, finishing with a 133.9, which was good enough for 7th on the grid. However, Herzog and Daly behind are both within a couple of tenths, so it's going to be a real challenge to battle for a top 10 here. We've got 24 drivers on the grid and we're just about ready for the lights to go green, so let's get down to the grid and see how we get on. Well, as the lights go green, we actually make a pretty decent start from the 4th row, but look at the Audi in the rearview mirror. That's James Daly, and he's made an absolute flyer of a start. Daly was 9th on the grid, but he's already worked his way up the inside into Paddock Hill Bend. And as we exit the turn, we're going to see a Lotus getting it all wrong. That's Thomas Logmans. So although we've lost the position to Daly, we have gained one position back. Daly is still on the inside into Druids, but as long as we can stay alongside him and get on the gas early, we're going to have the inside line into Graham Hill Bend. Now this tight line is far from ideal, so we're going to have to be careful not to clip the grass. We're also going to have to try not to squeeze Daly out because he's still alongside me on the outside. But as we approach 30s, it looks like we've just about done enough because I've still got the inside line and we're able to get that position back and exit the corner just a little bit quicker than Daly too. We've opened up a 0.4 of a second advantage. Meanwhile in front, it looks like Deke might have the run on Lamper, but if he's going to make a pass, he's going to have to do it around the outside. There's a bit of contact and they kick up a huge cloud of dust. But it looks like Lamper's done enough to hold on to that 4th position for now. But it certainly looks like he hasn't seen the last of Deke because that Lotus is all over the rear of Lamp as we charge through Dingle Dell and into the Sheen Curve. And these two guys are battling so closely, it actually means we're closing in on them. We're within 0.3 of a second of Deke now, and look how close Daly got in my rearview mirror. He's right behind us too. And it looks like Deke might just think about having a sniff up the inside into clearways. There was no room, and look at the rear of that Lotus getting all out of shape as we start the charge down the start and finish straight. We're going to finish lap 1 sitting in 6th position. And there's still nothing to separate Deke and Lamper. Deke having a look around the outside into Paddock Hill Bend, maybe going to try the switch back, but Lamper says no way. And that Mercedes in 4th position is going to go straight to the defensive line into Druid's hairpin. Great work there from Rudiker. There's absolutely no room for Deke to get by as we start the run down the hill to Graham Hill Bend. These are two very fast drivers in front of me. They've both got 2K ratings, but we're doing our best to hang with them here and we're just about managing it. We're only half a second off Deke. And this is a really tricky turn, Surtees, particularly in the Lotus, which can be more than a little bit fussy when it comes to turning. But we're within 0.6 of a second to Deke in 5th, and it's the same gap back to Daly behind. Right, let's go back and check out a replay of the start, and we're actually watching the Lotus of Thomas Logmans. He started 4th on the grid, but he's already made his way up to 3rd by the time we reach Paddock Hill Bend. He's driving exactly the same Lotus as I am, but he runs in way too hot. And at this point, he's heading for Halewood's restaurant. By now, I'd already come under fire from James Daly's Audi. He managed to get the inside line into Paddock Hill Bend, and he held that line all the way through to Druids, where he managed to make the pass. However, we had enough momentum to stay alongside him, and that gave us the inside line for Graham Hill Bend. I had to be careful not to squeeze him out. We just about gave Daly enough room there. And then as we begin the charge up to Surtees, we've got half a car length's advantage, and that's all we need. We're back in 6th. And a couple of corners later, we saw another Lotus get it all wrong. This is Frank crashing out of 12th place at Hawthorns, and look how close he came to taking other cars out. This is the onboard from Thayer in 15th. Now, he was the closest to being collected, and that is how close it was. We're rejoining the live action on lap 4. We're almost 6 minutes into the race now, and as you can see, we're just beginning to lose a bit of touch with Deke and Lamper ahead. It's now 1.1 second the gap. But more importantly, these two guys are still locked in an almighty battle for that 4th place, and that's surely helping us stick with them. And as we say that, look at Deke's Lotus through Sterling's. He very nearly lost the rear there. He did incredibly well to save that. But is that the mistake that gives us the chance to close this gap? We are within a second now, 0.8. And Deke's slide has also given Rudiger a bit of a rest in 4th position. He's got a bit of breathing room now, so it'll be interesting to see if Deke's got the pace to close that gap back in again. So we're on lap 5 now. We've got Lamper in 4th, Deke in 5th, I'm in 6th, and James Daly is still within touch in 7th. He's less than a second behind. And in answer to my question, it does indeed look like Deke's got the pace to reel Lamper back in again. He's closing in. And even more encouraging for me is the fact that I'm managing to stick with them. I said a couple of laps ago that both these guys have 2K ratings, and I thought the only reason I was managing to keep up with them was the fact that they were battling each other, but now they've spread out a bit and we're still holding our own. Looking behind again, and I can see that Daly is still within a second behind, but look at the gap back to Matt Robinson in 8th. He's 4 seconds adrift now, so we've managed to break away from the rest of the field. And in fact, Daly might have had a moment through Hawthorns, because that gap is now 1.4 seconds. So we have opened up a bit of breathing room behind now. So let's focus on what's going on in front. Can we stick with these 2K rated drivers? Deke has definitely closed the gap. He's within 3/10 of Lamper now, and he's going to have another look. That's where he got a bit out of shape a lap or 2 ago. He's much smoother this time. And yeah, the battle is well and truly back on now. And look how close we've got to the pair of them. We're now within half a second of both these drivers. I think Lamper may have clipped the gravel on exit of Sterling's back there, and that's what slowed both of them down. It's given us the chance to get among this. And just look at the 2 completely different lines between the Mercedes of Lamper and the Lotus of Deke. 2 totally different ways of taking Paddock Hill Bend there. Lamper taking the defensive route, while Deke has a far wider entry with a later apex, trying to get on the gas just a little bit earlier for a faster exit. Trying everything he can to try and find a way through, but there's just no room. Rudiger is doing a fantastic job of defending that 4th position. All the while we're having to push to the absolute limit just to stick with these 2 guys. We are managing it. We're within a second of the pair of them. But look behind, Daly hasn't given up the chase either. He's 0.7 back as we see Deke desperately searching for any gap he can find. But Lamper's defence seems unbreakable at the moment. And while this battle rages in front of us, just take a look in the rearview mirror. Daly has found some pace. He is now 0.4 of a second behind. And as we finish another lap, we're now 2/3 of the way through the race, and this could get really interesting. We could be in a 4-car battle for 4th place before we know it, because Daly is closing in fast. That gap to Deke in front might just be increasing slightly. It's up to 0.7 of a second now, but we do close right back in as we enter Druid's hairpin. And we're certainly managing to match these guys for pace through Graham Hill Bend, and I think we may have a bit of an edge over Daly through that section as well. Look, he's just dropped back ever so slightly. It's 0.9 of a second back to James Daly in 7th now, but we're concentrating on trying to bridge this gap to Deke in 5th. We saw Deke kick up a bit of dust on the exit of Surtees. He's trying everything he can to try and find a way through. You've seen lap after lap he gets pushed to the outside around Hawthorns. He's not going to try this time. Instead, he's going to try the switch back up the inside, but he's just not close enough to Lamper. And as we reach Dingledale, it looks like Deke is getting fed up of waiting. He's on a mission now. He's swarming the rear of that Mercedes. It certainly looks like he's got a little bit of extra pace over the man in 4th, but he just can't find a way through, and he's going to lose the rear again through Sterling's. We've seen him save it there a couple of times, but that was his biggest slide yet. I've got through, and so has Daly, and now Daly's on the attack. So we've gone straight for the defensive line into clearways. We want to close off any gaps to avoid that Audi getting through. And that's exactly what we've done. We're up to 5th. Here's the replay, and Deke has spent lap after lap trying to find a way past Lamper, and he just pushed it a bit too hard this time into Sterling's. The rear stepped out, he lost all his momentum and gave away 2 positions. Well, after we managed to get past Deke, the big question was, did we have the pace to stick with Lamper when he was unchallenged? And the answer was, just about. We're rejoining the live action on the penultimate lap, and as you can see from the leaderboard, we're still within a second of Lamper. 0.8 is the gap. Well, although we're fast enough to keep up with him, we just haven't quite got the speed to close that gap and challenge him in the way that Deke did. However, cast your eye a little bit further down the road. That's a back marker, and that could be my last chance of getting to within striking distance of Rudiger with a lap to go. Well, we've also got a lot to lose as well. Both Daly and Deke are within a second behind, so the slightest mistake will let them through. But Lamper's making his move on the back marker at the inside into clearways, and they touch. That yellow Porsche really didn't leave that much room, but Lamper's forced his way through, and he opened up a big enough gap for me to get through as well. It looks like Daly and Deke have got through as well. We've got one more lap of Brands Hatch to go, and anything can happen here. We're currently in 5th, but we're only half a second behind Lamper. However, we're getting harassed now by both Daly in the Audi and Deke in the Lotus. The smallest mistake now will see us drop from 5th to 7th, so we're going to have to be at the top of our game to hold on to this 5th position. And again, we're pretty fast out of Graham Hill Bend, and look in the rearview mirror because it looks like Deke is sizing up a move on the inside into Surtees, and he's got it. So Deke's back up to 6th, Daly down to 7th, although Daly's got a great drive out of the corner, and there's contact between the two of them as they're side by side. Who's going to be the bravest as they charge down Pilgrim's Drop? The smart money is with Deke because he's going to have the inside line into Hawthorns, and sure enough, he holds on to that 6th position. Meanwhile, we're closer than ever now to Lamper in 4th, but we've only got about half a lap left. Can we pull something out of the hat? I've got to admit, I'm not confident that we can because we saw how strong Lamper's defensive game was. He spent lap after lap dealing with intense pressure from Deke in the earlier stages of this race, and he never crumbled. So I doubt very much he's going to make a mistake now, one corner from home. All we can do is keep it tight into clearways, make sure there's no opportunities, no gap for Deke to attempt to pass. He wasn't able to, so we're going to take the checkered flag and claim a thoroughly satisfying 5th position. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that result. This was the moment where I could have got a little bit closer to Lamper. This was the pass on the back marker. They got a bit too close there and touched, but Rudiger did me a favour and barged that back marker out of the way. He gave us all the space to get through. So let's check out the classified results, and there we are in 5th place with the fastest lap again of 1:33.9, so similar to our qualifying pace. And the fastest laps also show how competitive we were against those 2K rated drivers, Lamper and Deke. However, the top 3 were in a class of their own. Teglis the winner, Moriera in 2nd, and a big shout out for Scott Warner in 3rd. Scott's one of our SCB drivers who had a cracking performance there, claiming 3rd position and saying a fastest lap of 1:33.3. That is an impressive lap time. And before we go, I'd just like to thank Scott and Rudiger for sending me their replay files because mine was corrupted after a server blip in the early stages of this race. It was showing every driver as having damage. So thanks guys for sending those over, and thank you all for watching. Cheers for now.